Welcome to Macro Crest, where we focus on fundamentals for entries and technicals. Fundamentals for direction and technicals for entry. Okay, so um, what we had last week was a mixed USD. This week we have inflation data from the card. We also have the labor data from the interest rate decision from NZD. We also have inflation data from the pound, and then finally we have all these PMI data. The most important thing is the Jackson Hole symposium that will be held, and the market is actually looking out for what central bank governors are going to say. And for that, what we do have for this week is if we would look just a little bit into what I've been working on, little data here, just so you understand the monetary policy we have for the central banks. The interest rate divergence on the central banks, you can see that it's actually the USD that is the highest, right? But apart from that, inflation is still sticky, the growth is maximum. The labor market is just a little bit low. The NFP is not that strong, but we can work with that. And then this trade balance, I don't really use it, so if we're focusing on anything, it's just the three important data, which is inflation, GDP, and labor. So ECB also is going, inflation is cooling, weak GDP, and also we have the labor market is actually stable there, but they're more focused on inflation data. For the pound, inflation is slowing, but it is still sticky, and services inflation is the most important one, which is still sticky at 4.7 or so. We have GDP is weak, right? But it's better. It came out better than expected the other time. And then the BOJ is ultra dovish. So this is why I'm still bearish on the yen. Inflation is not good, and they have weak GDP. Okay, so the inflation we'll be looking at next week, so not this week, the upper week inflation data from the yen and all that. Then SNB, of course, they're saying it's bearish, but it's not entirely bearish. Inflation is subdued already. The card is dovish. The inflation is moderating. GDP is okay. So the labor market is cooling. It's actually bad, I think at 6.9. So we can say the card is weak. RBA, of course, the cut and the dovish. Inflation is going down, GDP and RBNZD, which we are looking at a dovish cut. Inflation is easing weak GDP. With this, you just know already what you're looking out for the week. We go to Dixie, and I'm neutral on the Dixie, right? This is what we talked about. Let's clear this. This is just the same thing, high, so this is the low, but the only problem here is the lower time frame, which is the H4. We had this structure, so this is still this range, except it breaks, then we can go for full longs on the Dixie. And if that's the case, I'm bearish on the NZD first. So NZD is weak, Aussie is kind of weak to neutral. I have the yen weakness, I have the card weakness, I have although the inflation data will be coming out, but you've got to understand what are they pricing in for the inflation data, right? pricing in to be at 0.4. So should there be a miss on this, it's going to be bad for the card. That's what they're pricing in. Okay, so we can just say we're looking at card weakness a little bit, but let's focus on NZD first. We have the euro, which is kind of bearish to neutral to bearish, but against the yen, against the NZD, what do we have? We are bullish on the weekly. What's the daily like? To focus, what we have is this demand. Okay, so if we have our demand here, it will be wonderful. So where are we targeting? Just straight up to this ice. It's very clear. Also, the next question we are supposed to ask ourselves is, what's the structure like? This is a high, a low, so we're looking for a high, and this is internal structure. Alright, so that's for N, Euro, NZD. For GN, it's equivalently the same thing. So this was the setup last week. So what we do have here is a high, a low, and then this, we're looking for a high. This would be the first target area, so sorry about that. First target area is somewhere here. That's about another 200 pips to the upside. So should we see a pull to this area, we can long from here. Okay, so that's what we have. Then there is this funny thing I'm seeing here in the yen, but we'll get to that. The Swiss, this is a bearish, right? But then there is this structure here. I have this structure. This is a high, this is a low, this is a high. So this was a good shot last week, but the only problem is I don't know if this would continue higher or it would be the other way around. So I'm not really focused on the Swiss. But then this is the funny part. NZD yen. So this was the problem. On the weekly time frame, this is bearish, so bullish. Why is this network? This is bearish, right? Why? This is how I'm looking at it. So this was a bullish leg, and then we have internal structure to the upside. We have internal structure. So this was a high. Can we say this is a last low? Yes. But then the problem is this is price rejecting at this point if you go to your daily time frame. So what we do have here is very funny. So we had this liquidity area, this is our supply, and then we're looking at taking price coming all the way down. But should we have a break here, of course we'll be taking it to the downside, but I have to see some strength from the yen. And then final guy on the NZD weakness is the USD. This is already bearish on the weekly, so we have this low, high, this is a low, this is a high, so looking for a low. This is already clear. Going to our daily time frame, we have this structural break, and we have this lower low. So if this is a lower low too, so this is our range, and then we can say we are looking for a change to short. Go to my 4 hours, and it is very clear as to what I'm looking out for. We have this structural break here too, so I'm expecting a push to short. The only problem I have is this did not mitigate this entire supply. So that's the only issue I have with the NZD USD. In terms of neutrality and the USD, we also have the Aussie USD too, if you want to short it, because this one actually reacted from the supply. I was in this position last week. So that's for NZD. We can also look at the card weakness. If you're looking at card weakness in a sense, but I can't take it with the yen. So this is clearly going down because of this supply, right, on the 4 hours, but it's not clear enough. It's not clear enough for me, so I'll prefer looking at the euro card, which was also one I took this week. Fantastic setup. So looking at it from a weekly, we are bullish. Looking at it from the daily, we are also bullish. So should we have a pullback to this demand area, it will be a good one to long. And also, but I'll prefer, I think the pound card is better. Yes, so it's better. Why? It's because I was expecting it to pull back last week. See, this is the same analysis to that of last week. We had this, and then we had this. This was internal. Grabbed this liquidity area. So this was a low that was broken, so I expected a demand to continue, but here we are. Should this come back here, this will be good longs, but if it creates a demand then pulls back, I would like to long it from here to the upside because of momentum. So then the final guy for the pound strength, what I'm saying, we have this pound yen, which was the analysis was for us to take it to the upside, but it used this other point, which I'm not impressed. So I have to see a clean price action before I could do anything with it. For the GA, I don't know. I don't think this is that solid for me. I have to wait a little bit, but this was also a trade for last week. So why is because on the weekly time frame, if we look at it from the weekly, we are bullish, massively bullish. But the only problem is on the daily time frame. On the daily, what I have is this. We have this structure and we have this range, right? So this is internal. So I don't know if it comes back here, I'd like to push it to the upside. But if I see confirmation only, so on the daily time frame, we have this demand. Let me clear everything. We have this demand here. But it would be nice if we have a push, then it creates a demand, then I can use this as the demand. So let's look at it, because dollar also, you can just use the dollar, but that's all I have for the